morning and welcome again to the Haven Financial Group radio show. I'm Larry Kallevig, founder and CEO of the Haven Financial Group. On with Glenn Ramey today, insurance specialist at the office in all these areas, not because insurance is so fun and exciting, but it is important and it should be part of your overall financial planning retirement process. So if anything resonates, if you have questions, feel free to give us a call or get on Glenn's calendar at 612-504-8400, havenfinancialgroup.com, all kinds of retirement tools. And I want to draw attention to that website. We have lots of classes. We're full on classes and education this year. Just this past week, we had some wills, trusts, and legacy planning with our partners, Carrie and Keith, our estate planning attorneys. Very well attended. Maximize Social Security. February 16th, it's worth mentioning, at the Ames Center in Burnsville, we have a health researcher, best-selling author and speaker from California coming in, Mark Milstein. He's going to do a book signing, and he'll be speaking. Health is Wealth. Very interesting topic. Lots of good insight. Consider this your invitation if you're listening. And again, attend any of our educational seminars because that's how we learn. And from this education, hopefully we can make good decisions.
That sounds terrific, Larry. Great event. And again, if you didn't get all the times and what the information you need about that, go to havenfinancialgroup.com. We are continuing our conversation about insurance. We're talking about all different kinds of insurance. And some may be, insurance that you need. Some may be insurance that you don't think you need, but we want to put out some of the information for you to make those kinds of educated decisions. 612-504-8400 is how you reach the folks at Haven Financial Group. Glenn Ramey, an insurance specialist with us this morning. Glenn, life insurance. Life insurance is interesting. It can be used for the purpose of what I think a lot of people think of it, which is, again, as I said off the top, and it's money that goes to your spouse to maybe to help bury you or to pay off your debt or whatever the case may be, supplement for a spouse. But life insurance can also be used as a tax vehicle. It can be used as a way for legacy wealth. So let's talk a little bit about it. And let's start with some of the different kinds of life insurance out there. For example, term life.
Yeah, let's start with some term. So term life insurance is a great tool for a temporary liability, right? Because term is right there for you in the language of it. It is a duration of insurance, a 10-year, 15, 20, 30-year insurance policy. It's not technically designed to last longer than that. And it's a great vehicle to use for income replacement while we're working, figuring that we might not make it to the end of that working career and leave some money back for our family because we weren't there to earn those dollars for them. It could be covering that debt on our home, right? Worried about the mortgage and leaving my wife or husband responsible for all of that by themselves without the income that we bring in. So it's a great tool for a temporary need, just that. And it's inexpensive because it is temporary. Right? It is meant to cover that liability while the liability exists and not go much farther than that. So it is that great inexpensive insurance for our working years, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Then there's whole life insurance, which I guess the word whole life, the two words kind of explain the meaning there.
Yeah, the industry's trying to tell you what that means, right? In those terminologies there. So whole life is just that. The idea that this insurance policy is meant to last your whole life, right? Mm-hmm. From beginning to end, from whenever it starts to no matter how long you might end up living. And whole life is going to be a lot of guarantees inside of it, right? Guaranteed interest rate of return, guaranteed cash value building up over it. Because of those guarantees, it's usually the more expensive form of life insurance that you're going to see as far as cost is concerned. But again, it's a very consistent vehicle, great for estate planning and legacy needs. And there is some liquidity with a cash value component connected to it as well.
Okay. And then what's universal life?
I think universal life is trying to fit in the middle of both those options, right? There isn't just one universal life policy. You actually can put universal life policies into three categories: guaranteed universal, indexed universal, and variable universal, right? So guaranteed, this is like the term policy, except you're buying it to an age, not a duration. So I'm insuring myself to age 95, age 100. Heck, they'll allow you to go to age 120 now if you want to. And no matter how long you might live up to that age, your insurance is guaranteed. Same price, same benefit that entire duration. It is the least expensive form of permanent life insurance you could do because it doesn't have a cash value component to it typically, right? Then we're going to see the index universal life policy, where we're trying to shadow the market to get better returns on the cash value that builds up within our policy by removing some of the guarantees a whole life policy might give us, right? So whole life says, hey, you're going to be guaranteed that 3% interest rate on your cash value through the duration of your plan. An IUL, or an index universal life policy, is saying, what did the S&P 500 do this year? Is it up? You're going to get some of that upside. If it's down, you get none of the downside, right? But we're not going to give you the full upside because we're giving you none of the downside. And overall, you're probably going to see more like 5 to 6% rates of return in the cash value of those policies over that long term of that policy. And then we get into the VULs, right? The variable life insurance policies, where now we're going to take that cash value and put that directly into the stock market, just like any other investment, which means the variable component to it. My cash value might go up this year. My cash value might go down this year based on market returns. So variable life is going to have the most risk involved in it, but with also the greatest returns on the cash value we have inside the life insurance in the first place. And I'll say the VULs, we're not a fan of them in retirement necessarily. We think they're a great vehicle. We understand they have a fit in a niche, but oftentimes that niche is not people nearing retirement. So people that have variable life insurance policies nearing retirement should consider whether that is the vehicle they want to maintain for that life insurance policy in the future.
So you've laid out all these different types of life insurance policies, and you've talked about where they come into use. Let's talk about which ones are best for which stage of your life, or who you might recommend for different types of policies here.
Yeah. So again, if I'm working, term insurance is going to make the most sense. At least most of my insurance should be in that term. I heard a lot of advisors will say that buy term, invest the rest, right? We don't think that's a completely impossible thing to try to target or a bad idea to do. Does it fit for everybody? Of course not. But there's a lot of individuals at those working years, term is the right thing to be having for that time frame, right? Okay. Unless we have other goals like retirement, and where now some of the other vehicles might come into play. Not that we need the death benefit necessarily at that early age and to be permanent, but we're looking for some other component that life insurance does for us. So we've heard the term life insurance retirement plan, LIRPs, they call them, right? The acronym, LIRP. And this is where you're going to be funding the life insurance policy's cash value with the intent to borrow in it in retirement. Tax-free distributions coming out of the cash value of your life insurance without completely destroying the life insurance policy in the first place to be there for your family. But I'll often sit down and tell clients, let's narrow it down to this is why you're going to buy life insurance in retirement. Either you still have a liability. We need some more term insurance, maybe till we're 75, right? And that house is finally paid off. Or we're going to be worried about the loss of that first Social Security check that goes away when our spouse passes. And we want to use a more permanent life insurance vehicle to replace some of that missing income, or maybe even a term because we're not worried about it when we're 85, but we are worried about it if it's 75 when we pass away, right? And then we're going to look at legacy planning, gifting to our children, to our grandchildren, to charities and things that we love, to give them a tax-free benefit of this gift of money to them upon our passing. Maybe we're going to use it connected to long-term care planning. You heard me in the earlier segment mention that one of the options in long-term care planning is life insurance. Maybe you're going to have it for some other reason, but having that long-term care rider component connected to it makes sense for those retirement years, right? And then we get into the outliers like estate taxes. If we're blessed to have great savings for retirement, depending on the state that we might live in, we might have some estate tax issues on a state or federal level. And maybe we want to fund life insurance to give that money to our estate upon our passing to pay those taxes for our family so they're not the ones responsible for it, right? And now we get into the permanent life insurance. We don't need it for a temporary time. We need it till we die. No matter what age that might be, a lot of those last things I were saying there were specifically because we needed to be there for our whole life. And universal or whole life is the option that's going to get you there.
Absolutely. So many different options when it comes to life insurance. And this could be, and Glenn, I'm sure you would agree, this can be a bit of a confusing, undertaking, making decisions about life insurance. And this can change throughout the course of your life.
Oh, absolutely. Again, the reasons you buy it are different throughout the different stages of life. And I can't count how many times I might start talking about life insurance and I end up talking about long-term care. Because the reality was that's where our dollar was best dedicated and the things that we're most worried about, right?
Sure.
Or again, maybe it is I'm really worried that what's going to happen to my spouse when I pass away. Maybe I have a pension and my Social Security check that's going to go away. Just had that meeting last week with a client who was worried that, hey, when I die, my wife doesn't get my pension. She doesn't get my Social Security check. What can we do to make her better if I'm the first one to pass away?
Right. Right.
Glenn, if I could add, Glenn, if you could speak to the listeners that are listening and that have life insurance and they don't know which ones that you described, they don't know which one they have. Or if you could also speak to them and why life insurance reviews are so important. And we're really focused on that. We have been even more so than ever in 2026. Explain to them why we think it's so important.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, when we look at our life insurance, it's important that if we are paying for this, right, we're putting our hard-earned dollars to this insurance, that gosh darn it should be there for our family when we're not. And people get complacent thinking, hey, again, this was designed to be there for my whole life. I should be able to just pay the premiums and ignore it, right, and not worry about it ever in the future. And the truth is that is not the case. That these policies sometimes have rosier expectations than we actually receive, or just the markets didn't do what the insurance companies thought they would over the long term.
Right.
So the importance Larry is stressing here is of reviews, right? Nearing retirement is the perfect time to take inventory. What do we have? Let's understand it and how it works. Let's see how that fits into our retirement plan to see if there's still a purpose and a reason for it, or maybe again, those dollars need to be shifted to something else that's more important. But that review is there to make sure that the thing that you're purchasing is going to be there for your family when you're not, right? The whole reason you're buying it, because we don't get to see the results of our life insurance, right? We don't get to be there when the family gets the check because we're gone, right? So this is all about making sure it's there for them when we're not here anymore.
You bet. So if you have a lot of questions about life insurance, maybe you have a life insurance policy that you've had for the last 25 years and nobody has taken a look at it. If you have questions about retirement as a whole, give the folks at Haven Financial Group a call. The number is 612-504-8400. Set up a free consultation. Get on, as Larry has said, get on Glenn's books so you have an opportunity to get in and to see him and talk about insurance. Maybe you've got some questions about estate planning. They have attorneys there who can do that for you. Or you're looking to change your investments as you head into retirement. It's all right there at Haven Financial Group. Again, the number 612-504-8400. When we come back, let's talk annuities, gentlemen. Annuities, something that a lot of people may have and may not even know what they own. That's coming up next right here on the Haven Financial Group Radio Show.